Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Taos of Baltimore. We are Baltimore Positive. We are getting the Maryland Crab Cake Tour out on the road 3 times this month that I know of. There might even be a fourth one. We're going to be at Fadley's in Lexington Market this Friday. My man Steve Miles is going to come by and talk about the law as well as sports and his role in keeping me out of jail at various points. It's all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. I'll have Harlem Globetrotter scratch-offs. I have a handful of these, but I will have the Maryland Treasures with me for the first time on Friday. Also brought to you by GBMC. They're keeping me alive and well and safe and healthy. I have my big checkup later on in the month as I get older. So colonoscopy last year, checkup this year. It's almost like I'm on the grid over at GBMC. Also, our friends at Farnan and Dermer there, the Comfort Guys, kept me comfortable last week. I thought they were just HVAC and AC, but they do plumbing. And when you have a leak like I had at 7 a.m. last Wednesday, you need them. They're the Comfort Guys at Farnan and Dermer. We are appreciative of all of our sponsors. This weekend, it was no fun watching the Pittsburgh Pirates sweep the Orioles, but it was kind of neat on Sunday afternoon. I heard Ben McDonald and Kevin Brown talk about a museum that I have frequented when I have been in Pittsburgh. The founder and museum curator has become a friend of mine through maybe my Latin blood and my Hall of Fame blood and his passion for number 21 and the great Roberto Clemente. The Roberto Clemente Museum is housed in a historic firehouse in revitalized Lawrencetown. That's right there in the Burgh. If some of you are making the trip up 3 weeks from now for the NFL draft being held in Pittsburgh this week, this would be a nice little stop off to see some baseball artifacts and works of art, literature, photography, all of this good stuff. And if you're watching the baseball game, even after the Orioles were getting blown out and swept out on Easter afternoon, you heard Kevin Brown and Ben McDonald talk about this guy, Duane Rieder, who has been my friend for more than a decade when he welcomed us up along with Coach Tomlin in regard to my Give a Spit tour back in 2015 when my wife was battling leukemia, and we've saved her life and many other lives, and they are opening the eyes of the young people to baseball up at the Clemente Museum. Dwayne, how you been, man? How's the photography going? I know that's your real passion, man.
Well, thanks you for having me on the show. This is pretty fantastic. And I got to start out by saying I love the Baltimore Orioles organization. You guys are class all the way from the owner, the GM, the manager, the players. Now you got my man Pete Alonso, who's one of the best friends of the museum because he was here with the Mets a lot and paid it forward for us and would bring the team. So I don't know if you heard, he brought the team over on Wednesday. I had the guys for some Clemente pizza and wine, and it was a beautiful night. Um, and I just here again, I love your organization. And on a little teeny sad note, I'm sitting in the 71 World Series room right now, and
That's a bad room. I knew it was dark in there. Really, really dark in there.
What's funny is that they people have talked to Jim Palmer from here with me on the line, and he's like he should have been the MVP of that World Series because he gave up Clemente that home run to Clemente, and it's just a good kind of connection, Orioles and Pirates, and Roberto's the MVP of that series, and it really just we get most of our fans in this museum because of the 71 World Series, because Roberto put on a clinic and just showed how he could throw and run and hit and just lead that team. And he carried them because Stargell was
And a
hurt.
senior at that point, really well into his 30s at that point.
37 years old and still hit one to Cuellar at the mound and legged it out to first base.
Well, so I
Yeah.
am very fortunate in that way because I was born in 68. I don't remember the 71 World
Yeah.
Series. I know you have some highlights there that we try to stay away from, Dan, at the Babe Ruth Museum around here. But 79, I'm familiar with all of that. I lived through all of that, all of the pain. Burt Blyleven still makes me wear his ring whenever he sees me. And Grant Jackson, the late, great Grant Jackson, used to rub it in when he would see me. They're talking about 79 and We Are Family and Omar Moreno and Sister Sledge and all of that. But the Clemente part of this and his tradition, and look, I'm an Aparicio, right? So I get it honest. Aparicio is still the only Venezuelan in the Hall of Fame. That's going to change with Ordonez and a couple other players down the line. But I would just say this for Clemente and what he means to the sport and the award, and Jackie Robinson as well. But when we're talking about decorated honorable Latin players that really helped shape the game at a time when, hey man, we got ice taking people look like me out of the country right now.
Yep.
Very, very underappreciated. And I go back to those baseball cards and I collect Louis baseball cards. But with Louis, they never spelled his name Looie. Man,
Yeah.
with Roberto, they Bobby Clemente, right? They were always trying to sort of Americanize him in some way. And I think since his passing and the way he passed, and on that incredible mission to Nicaragua and died on the plane crash off of San Juan, there's something about the Latin part of baseball that Clemente really was the first flicker. Not Aparicio or Marichal or any of those Cepeda, any of those people that played the game at that level in the
Yeah.
60s into the 70s. But Clemente is really the standard bearer for all of Latin baseball, I believe.
Yeah. Well, he's a rookie in 55, so he's slightly ahead of a lot of those guys. But yeah, he set the mark, and the human being that he was. That's the reason we're doing the museum here. Is because of the humanitarian he was and how he died and how he lived his life. Yes, the baseball part is incredible, and that's what brings people here is the sports part of it. But then we tell the stories about what he was doing off the field and helping children. He turned in Clemente Night in Three River Stadium. He turns it into a fundraiser for Children's Hospital. He didn't want one thing. He just wanted to help people, especially poor people, especially Latino people. He loved the working class. I have a great example. They're tearing down Forbes Field. They've moved over to Three Rivers, and he had 16 years of his career at Forbes, and he's
What
walking.
year was that? 70 that they moved?
70. Yeah,
Okay.
midway through the season, they move into Three Rivers with the new polyester uniforms. First team to wear polyester, Pittsburgh Pirates, 19 opening day of 73. And he's
Or
walking
Al Oliver.
Al Oliver, the lumber company, man. It was the lumber company. So he's walking around this construction site and they're tearing her down, and he's walking around and he's sad. And here come the workers, and they go, "Hey, you're Roberto Clemente. Can we get a picture?" And like, yeah. And so they start gathering. And one person goes, "Let me go get the boss upstairs." And he goes, "No, no, no. We don't need the boss. You guys are doing all the work. Come on in here." And he gets a picture with the workers. That's the kind of guy he was. We don't need the CEO. We don't need the owner. Bring in the worker guys. Come on, right here. So that's the story we tell about what an incredible human being he was, and then all the connections to this old firehouse where Lou Gehrig sleeps in 1927, and the steel beams are 21 inches, and it was vacated on New Year's Eve of 1972 at 9 o'clock, the same time his plane crashes into the Atlantic Ocean. So when you start hearing how this evolved out of just my photography business and doing a calendar on Roberto in 94. And all of a sudden, now it's a full blown museum for the man. And we keep learning these facts about Roberto that are connected somehow to his property. It's almost a little spooky. It's almost like what's going on up there to help me down here? Because there's something incredible
So it's
going.
been 32 years, Duane, since you started the Clemente Museum, correct?
Correct. As the first 12, it was an archive of photos. We have a party for Vera in 2006, and that's when I really turned my studio into what it is, the museum. I moved my studio upstairs. Luckily, I don't do much photography anymore, and now even Clemente's taken over my studio. I still shoot my baseball portraits, but other than that, I'm not doing a lot of photography. It's just Clemente and wine now. And the wine's growing big time. And we're making the Yins in right now for the NFL draft.
Whoa,
It's
whoa, 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 whoa. Yins in. Is it the Zinfandel with the Yins?
Yep, yep.
I
And
thought you were Chianti people up there. What's going on?
we were, but for the draft, you got to make something special for the Yinzers coming. 1 million people are embarking on Pittsburgh. It's
It's going to be insane up there 3 weeks from now, up on that riverside when they're pulling football names out. Duane Rieder's our guest. He is the curator and the founder of the Clemente Museum. If you're watching baseball over the weekend, you heard some stories. So I got two directions here. I'll get to Pete Alonso in a minute because it is important to me. how did this come at you, honest? Because I think you were on my show 11 years ago. It was before I did video. Mike Tomlin, you certainly were a part of our whole day with Mike Tomlin. And I text with Mike on Sunday, believe it or not. He and I
Oh,
still remain close all these years later, even though he's the former head coach of the
yeah,
Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know Mike McCarthy, so I know Mike Tomlin. I'll keep that with me and him. But he knew all about you. You knew all about him and the museum. And I think I had you on the show back in the day. But this is the first time I've looked at you and really talked to you about it.
yeah.
Give me the background of you with Clemente. You seem about my age and you feel like you might be a year or three older. Did you see Clemente play ball in
I
71,
did.
72?
I'm a lot older than you. I'm
Okay.
65.
Okay.
I got an autograph from him in 1971, going back to that World Series year and MVP. I got an autograph from him in 71, and I was just a baseball junkie.
Were you at the ballpark when you saw
Yeah,
him?
at Three River Stadium. I saw him play twice at Forbes Field and then about 10 times at Three Rivers before he dies New Year's Eve of 72. And once he's gone, then I kind of drift away from baseball a little bit. I get real busy. I go to school for photography and I start my photography business in the early 80s. And then I got real busy with photography. And until I do the calendar in 1994 with his widow, Vera, I get to go to Puerto Rico and go to Roberto's house. And my heart broke for her when I was there because tropical storms and hurricanes have been hitting that island forever, and it just flooded her house and ruined a lot of the photos. And I said to her, Vera, her son Luis was with her at the time, and I said, "The guys, can we? I got to take these photos back to Pittsburgh. They're just getting destroyed here." And they were like, "Okay." And I was like, wait, that was way too easy. I'm going to take all your photos here in the basement back to Pittsburgh, and the originals are never coming back to Puerto Rico. The originals are going to stay with me in Pittsburgh in a dry climate. And they were like, let's do it. So that day we started they made me the official Clemente family archivist. And I spent 12 years collecting other photos and negatives and becoming friends with photographers and calling newspapers and magazines and getting that angel wings image out of a dumpster downtown when our morning paper is buying out the afternoon paper. So all kinds of good things were happening as the collection was building. Um, I spent a lot of my photography money on the side getting a lot of that stuff and have a hell of an archive right now. We've got probably 3,000 negatives, transparencies, and original pieces of film that were all used in the documentary. There's a documentary out called Clemente that just got nominated for an Emmy. So tell your people should watch that before they come here. If
Where can
anybody
they find that?
that's out there. I think you can get Amazon, you get Apple TV.
Okay.
There's a bunch of ways. The History Channel picked it up first, and they were showing it, but then you had to deal with commercials, and people grumble about commercials. But a lot of people now are streaming it, I think, through Apple, and it's really well done. We worked on it for 6 years, and finally got it launched, and so it's out to the public, and it gives you a kind of a behind the scenes of what the story of Roberto. And that way, when you come here and then you see the stuff, with your own eyes, it's a nice tie together.
Duane Rieder is the curator and the really the inspiration behind the Clemente Museum. It is up in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If you're going up for the NFL draft or for my kid goes up to Pittsburgh for concerts in the summertime. Stops off at the waterfall house on the way up there,
Yes.
past Deep Creek Lake, all that good stuff going on. Make sure that you stop and see the Clemente, really the tribute. Now, how often do things come to you, Duane, that you're like, oh my God, you got a ticket stub from this, or you got a bat from that, or a glove from this, or a picture from that? Um, I would think that when people find Clemente stuff, or you're seeing things that are getting auctioned off, and all of these more esoteric, Ken Golden and our friend over at Robbie's First Base, they have a relationship that things unearth themselves around Clemente. My dear late great friend Phil Forrester used to have a Clemente bat that he had over at the hacienda. He loved Roberto Clemente, but he collected things. Do people show up at the museum and say, "What is this, Duane? What is this thing I have?"
Yeah, they'll sometimes have me authenticate. I know his signature pretty well because Phil Dorsey helped him sign, and I was good friends with Phil, and so I know Phil from Roberto. So I sometimes I have to break people's hearts. But we're buying things. We're on eBay every night. We're looking for negatives and film, and Clemente memorabilia. People don't donate much. We would like some stuff donated if people have some nice things. We're really looking for, here's something you can help me with, something of the Baltimore Orioles from 71. If we could hang, because I'm sitting in that room, if we could hang one Brooks Robinson, a Frank Robinson, a Boog Powell, a Jim Palmer. I think Ben McDonald, they're going to talk to Jim to see if he'd put
Jim's
something
got something
on.
at his house out in California he can throw at you.
We need something hanging
Dude,
here.
71, he might have thrown it all away. He might have burned it.
He
I mean,
may have burned
seriously.
it. He said he's tired of talking about it. So maybe we could, yeah, if you got anybody has anything, we could take it on loan with a 1 year type lease type of thing, or if somebody wanted to donate something to us. We have tickets here from the games. Your tickets were way nicer than our tickets. Your Baltimore,
71 World Series tickets.
oh, they're
I have a
gorgeous.
couple of those from my dad.
Aren't they gorgeous?
They
Yeah,
are. Yeah.
yeah. Ours are
Everything of
beautiful.
that era was done with logos and some style. Baseball had a style about it in that period of time. And,
Yeah,
part of that was the flash of Roberto, I think, and the jerseys and the polyester and the
yeah,
colors. I'm still addicted to that portion of my young baseball life in the early 70s as
yeah.
well.
Yeah. And then Fred, your guy, your equipment manager, Fred, who's,
Fred Tyler, of course.
he's in the clubhouse for the 71 World Series with he's got a photo in front of Roberto's jersey on the Pirates side because of his father. And he showed everybody the photo here the other night when he came with the guys. And they're the best.
So I collect the 1971 belt buckles of the NFL and Major League Baseball. So I'm going to show you a little memorabilia that I have here. There's my Oriole
Oh,
belt buckle. The
oh,
Pirates one is in mint condition. This thing's really
oh,
perfect. So
that's
I
great.
do. I don't tell anybody. I even have a Steelers logo that I have to look at right
Oh,
next to the Baltimore Colts
nice.
logo here. Reminds me of the Donald Croner plane over Memorial Stadium. Duane Rieder doesn't know from that. He's up at Pittsburgh celebrating Forbes Field, Three River Stadium, PNC Park, all the good things. The Orioles were in town up there getting their heads beaten in over the weekend, but they did manage to have some wine and pizza with Roberto Clemente and the ghost of Clemente at the museum. So give me the Pete Alonso story. I need to hear more about this because you're always looking for players that would fall in love with your guy, Roberto Clemente, right?
And I got my top three are Aaron Judge, Pete Alonso, and Manny Machado. Those three guys they just want to know more and they want to hold Roberto's bat and there's something about those three that they're and there's 100 other nice guys, but there's like my little pyramid. And Pete's just solid gold for the museum. He joined our club and got his barrel of wine here, and we made a special Chianti wine for his honeymoon
I knew
wedding.
Chianti was going to be involved
Yeah,
in Pittsburgh. That's all they try to give me up there when I'm
because
in Pittsburgh.
that's because of the Franco's Italian Army wine. We're not allowed to call it Chianti, so we have to say Sangiovese or Franco's Italian Army wine that he allowed us to sell here and raise money for the museum. Franco was salt to the earth. God love him. And every time I say his name, I get choked up. And so that was a Chianti. And you
I
probably can't.
never met a nicer man than Franco Harris.
Yeah,
He was nicer to me than Rocky Blyer, who always had to bring up the bad things too. But
yeah,
yeah, you're in such a it's such a special sports town, Pittsburgh, and
yeah,
I've gotten to know that through Mike Tomlin and through the rivalry that we have with Pittsburgh in that way. But we have Babe Ruth here, who never played here really,
yeah,
and Cal Ripken. Obviously, we have our legends, and my buddy John Miller wrote the book on Earl Weaver. He's up there with
yes.
Yinzenat in Pittsburgh. He was hitting me
Mhm.
for opening day tickets last week. So I mean, there's just such a rich Baltimore Pittsburgh baseball and football rivalry. We've gotten the boot on the baseball part of the rivalry over the years, but the Clemente part of that and his role in the 71 World Series, it's sort of synonymous with Baltimore. His greatest achievements were achieved right here at Memorial Stadium in that throw
Yes,
in right field.
yes, yep. There's a lot of connection there. And maybe we'll be playing you guys in the World Series this year. How about that?
That
Oh, wait a minute. You're like, wait a
I'd be
minute.
okay with me. I mean, are we in it? Are we in the World Series? It's been 43 years. If we're in it, I don't care who we play. We
Right.
can
So
play
then
anybody.
Pittsburgh and Baltimore again would be
That
fantastic.
means the Yankees and the Dodgers aren't in it if we're in
Yeah.
it. So that's at
That's what
least
I
got
told
going
your
on.
guys. I said, we got to get rid of the Dodgers.
Well, hey man, I'm glad to have you on and talk about the museum and talk about the legend of Roberto. When are you open? I know it was a bit of a boutique place. I think
Yeah,
people would be shocked that this really is a dude named Duane that's put it together with the arms of the city and all the things. Mr. Rogers is in Pittsburgh. Got a lot of legendary figures up there. But you've made this thing work now for 3 decades, and hats off to you and the 21 and all that Roberto represents, because it meant something to me even on Sunday hearing about it. I'm like, I better give Duane a call. I want to have him on, especially with the NFL draft up there, because I know we have a lot of people going up for this.
yeah, it's going to be insane. And we have open houses now where before it was you had to make an appointment and schedule your tour. Now it's a little easier to get in here. But if you just go to clementemuseum.com, we have a calendar going and you can see the dates and times when we have our different tours and open houses. But for the week of the draft, we're having open houses every day. You'll be able to get in fairly easy.
Well,
But if you can book it, it's nice to just let us know that you're coming. So because we max out at 100 people is our fire marshal law here.
wow.
So if we can, we know you're coming. If you say, you got the X amount of people, we'll put you on and cap it off at a certain amount. We don't want it to be too crowded in here. But it's easier to get in now. So
I got into Machu Picchu last month. I think I can get into the Clemente Museum. I
uh,
know people.
perfect, perfect.
Well, if you're going up for the draft this month, or anytime, really, if
Yeah,
you are someone going up for a Raven Steelers game in season, or all of those Oriole fans went up over the weekend, we don't play up in Pittsburgh often enough. If you get that opportunity, make sure you stop by the Clemente Museum. Great, great spot in a historic firehouse in the Lawrenceville section of Pittsburgh. And hey, it was great seeing you get
yeah,
featured. And anything that happens with Roberto Clemente, I feel a little closer to it as an Aparicio, because there is no Aparicio museum around here. The closest I got is the collection of Aparicio autographed memorabilia that I have. And it's interesting, you would say, being a photographer and collecting pictures, that people send me the most beautiful pictures of Luis.
yeah,
And in recent times, someone sent me this beautiful picture of him on this sky blue car in the 66 World Series parade. It's in front of the Chesapeake restaurant. It was a color picture that was taken of Louis in a trench coat riding in the parade in 66 after the World Series.
yeah,
And every once in a while, I find an old picture that's an Alamy it's a Getty picture that people will screenshot send over. And with Louis, he was so swashbuckling and he stole bases that most of the pictures of Louis that were AP are of his foot sliding in the second base in a big
travel,
pile of dirt, because I guess the photographers were trying to get action in a
action.
baseball game, and he was action, like Roberto Clemente was action. The Latin players were swashbuckling in that era.
Yep. They were all out. They played all out. They had something to prove, right?
Well,
They had
you've been
something.
proving it for 30 years up there. Duane Rieder has meticulously renovated Engine House number 25 to showcase the world's largest exhibited collection of baseball artifacts, works of art, literature, photographs, memorabilia, and related materials, which focus on Roberto Clemente, his teammates, his personal life, and his humanitarian causes. You can find them at ClementeMuseum.com. Did I do a good enough job of avoiding the fact that the Orioles got swept again in Pittsburgh this weekend, Duane?
Yes. Yes.
You got it going on up there with Skeens and all this, and this Connor
Yeah.
Griffin kid, right? Like
Connor,
the
the kid that
Pirates feel like they might be coming back, maybe
and we
finally.
got O'Hearn. How about O'Hearn's got 3 or 4 homers already?
I don't want to talk about that. I saw
Sorry.
that over the
Sorry.
weekend.
I didn't mean to bring up some bad news. But yeah, we got a pretty good team, and maybe we can.
Everything Baltimore goes to Pittsburgh to die. I'm convinced of this at this point.
We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting year, and I hope the best for you guys. And go get the Yanks. Go get the Yanks.
I played an April Fool's joke last week about Jason Lock and Four coming and joining my team. But the best joke that I saw that was not mine last week was somebody took the Ryan loop or the Tyler loop kick that made it go straight. And Harbaugh's still the coach of the Ravens. It was like a whole thing that they did that ended. So we have had a really, really rough 2026 in Pittsburgh. And
Yeah.
some people are wondering, why are you having this Clemente guy on? Because you're doing good things up there. But nothing good has happened for Baltimore and Pittsburgh since January 1st. Trust me on this.
You got us. You got it. for sure.
It's been a
And here's
rough year
something
so
real
far.
quick that I would like to mention. We're building an elevator right
Okay.
now to get, because we're not handicap accessible to the second floor. And we're
Okay.
building it for 4 months now, and it's a $3 million project,
Wow.
slightly underfunded. But we're going to get it done, and we're getting it all the way to the roof. We have a rooftop deck up there, and we're building a batting cage on the roof so that Pete Alonso, Juan Soto is the one who kind of put it in my ear. And so all the players, they swing all the bats that I have here because the guys bring me bats. If you remember, I have a lot of game bats from all the players today hanging on a wall that have showed up here with the bat. And they want to hit balls on the roof. So we're building a rooftop deck with a batting cage. And so we're a couple months away from having that
That's
done.
not even going to be virtual. You're really going to be able to hit the baseball into like into a
Into
net.
a net, into a net. Yeah. It's going to be
Oh,
incredible.
my back. I told you, listen, this is Masters week. I told Ed Miller over Classic 5, my back's starting to come together again, that I feel like I could torque a little bit. So I
Yeah.
said, look, no offense to golf, but if I could hit a baseball in the batting cage or a golf ball, I would hit the baseball every time.
Yeah. All right. It's on. You come up. We'll hit some balls up
I
there.
told Kenny Singleton last week I crouch down like Rod Carew. I have a little bit of a Carew stance, not a Clemente stance, but I know the difference at least, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
I did them all in wiffle ball. He's got number 21 on his hat. He's got number 21 across his heart. He is Duane Rieder. He is the curator of all things Clemente Museum and the best Clemente storyteller that I know. Even though some of the tales are involve 1971 and some bad vibes with this bucko.
Okay, what a cool logo. What a cool logo.
What
You
a
know who
cool
that is on?
logo.
You know who that is on there?
Willie Stargell.
No, Frank Gifford.
What?
He came to Pittsburgh. The artist's wife had a crush on Frank Gifford. Tell Kathy Lee this. He came to Pittsburgh. I have his autograph from the day and photographs of him on the field, and sat for the artist's wife to paint a happy pirate. Frank
You
Gifford.
sure that's not Mazurowski? Come on now.
No, no, it's not
All
Mazeroski.
right, just checking.
Frank
You
Gifford.
would know.
No, I know my facts. Call Mike. Let's see, Burgh, Mike Burgh, who's still in baseball today, believe
Sure.
Marlins. That's his mom painted that. His dad, Jack Burgh, did all the images of the logos for the Pirates for 30 years, 40 years, and his mom did that one.
When I see that, I do not think Frank Gifford, but I will never not think Frank Gifford anymore. Although it looks a little bit like Willie Stargell to me, but a little bit like Phil Garner, or Bill Matlock, one of
Mike
those guys.
Yeah.
But never Grant Jackson, and
No.
certainly never Kent DeColvey. Although it does
Oh,
look a little like Kent DeColvey now.
he-
Now I know that's not even possible because this was from '71. Maybe it's Steve
right.
Blass or Doc Ellis. I don't know. He
Well,
is Duane Rieder. I am Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Pittsburgh, even though it makes us not feel so good sometimes. We're Baltimore positive. Stay with us.